Hey everyone, welcome to my kitchen and welcome to another edition of Pagan Happy Hour. So let me know in the comments if you can hear me and see me, since I have a little bit of a different setup today. So we're going to actually be making a cocktail together. But yes, I can see some of you guys joining me now. Hello, welcome to Pagan Happy Hour and happy Friday. So yes, let's get started. It sounds like you guys can hear me. Okay, can you guys see me okay? I can see that someone mentioned the sound was a bit echoey. I can turn that down if it's a little too much, so just let me know. And before we get started, hey, if this is your first Pagan Happy Hour, welcome. I've been doing these pretty much every Friday for maybe a couple of months. So they've been really fun. It's just kind of a good way for me to chat with you all, to hang out with you guys, answer any questions you have, and yeah, let's jump into it. So we are, of course, celebrating Krampus today. I have my Krampus horns on for the occasion, and if you saw on my channel, I recently did a whole video on the history of Krampus. So I thought it would be fun to make a cocktail with you guys, and then we'll go head over to my Yule tree and we'll chat. So normally I have my cocktail all done and prepared, but today we are going to be making a Krampus rum cocktail, and this recipe was actually sent to me from Justin Young on Instagram. So thank you, Justin, for sending me this recipe. It looked really good, and I figured I could give it a try. And if you are not following me on Instagram, you can check me out there at Arcane Alchemy. And hold on, my cat is being a bit disruptive. Anytime she sees me not paying attention to her, she goes and bangs on the cabinet. So hopefully she'll be okay. So let's see, for the Krampus rum cocktail, this is what we're gonna do. The primary component of the cocktail is going to, of course, be rum, which is, this bottle has been like sitting in my cabinet for like years. I'm not much of a rum drinker. So I'm gonna start there. I got a fun like mixing thing in the shape of a rocket, so use it every once in a while when I make old fashions. So first component is going to be getting the ice in there, but yeah, just a little bit more ice. Okay, we need 2 ounces of rum. I believe a shot glass is 1.5 ounces. Correct me if I'm wrong. But how are your Yule preparations going so far? I just decorated, so I've been pretty busy. But this is, of course, a really fun time of year. Okay, we got the rum in. Next, 2 ounces black cherry juice, which I have here. And tastes kind of unusual. I don't know if you guys have ever tried black cherry juice, but it's pretty good. Okay. We're about halfway there. Then we got 1 ounce orange juice. And okay. Then let's see. I'm just checking your comments a little bit as we go. I'll of course be answering questions and stuff like that and chatting with you all after I'm done fixing up my cocktail. Gotta get my drink ready. Then I got to get some lime juice. So I'm just gonna juice half of the lime and get that going. This could get everywhere. This could be a bit of a mess. Oh, I got most of it in there. Awesome. Okay. Let's see, some dashes of bitters. What do we got here? 4 dashes of bitters. 1, 2, 3, 4, close enough. Lastly, some honey. And then we will shake her up. Okay. Whew. I haven't made this before, so it could taste super weird, but you know, it's Friday. Time to have a little fun. So let's see how that tastes. Oh, I should actually get the ice in there too. And cinnamon stick to garnish. Okay, let's give it a taste. Pardon if my bartending skills aren't quite up to par. I'm not an expert at this. But it definitely looks kind of red and slightly demonic, so figured it'd be a good cocktail to try for today. I can see your comments here. Oh yeah, I see a lot of you guys are drinking bourbon, which is usually one of my go-tos, but thought I'd try something fun for today. And someone asked about the bitters. I picked orange bitters for this drink since there's a little bit of OJ in there. Figured it would taste good. Let's see. Oh, that's actually really good. I feel like it could use a little smokiness or spice in it. It's not quite as intense as I would want for a Krampus style drink, but I think it's pretty good. So next we're going to pop over to my Yule tree and then we'll chat. Let me bring you guys over there. You guys are pretty much gonna get like a tour of my apartment right now as we walk over. Okay, got the drink. Let's head over. Okay, let me set you down right here. Okay, just got my Yule tree up, and I'm always jealous of, you know, like YouTubers and Instagrammers that always have like a nicely coordinated tree, because as you can see, I just collect random ornaments and put them on my tree. There's no organization. But I think it still turned out okay. One of the things I would really like to do maybe next year is get a second tree and have that tree be like a special Yule tree. So I would do only like handmade ornaments from natural materials. I would get some of those gorgeous Scandinavian straw ornaments, maybe get a couple special Krampus ornaments on there, because it'd be fun to have a tree that's like just designated fun Yule ornaments. But for now, this will do. And yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me. So I love to hear where you guys are from. It's kind of neat that I'm doing this 5 p.m. Central, because it's officially Krampusnacht right now in Germany and Austria, which are the main 2 regions that celebrate Krampus. It is a little bit late for them. It's kind of tough being in America. Like, I didn't want to pick a time that, you know, didn't work for everyone, but, you know, half my viewers are in Europe and half of them are in America. So I just picked 5 o'clock on Fridays, but maybe eventually I'll try out a different time so that more of you guys can join. But I'm seeing you guys message now. Some guys are from, let's see, Eastern Pennsylvania, Quebec, Australia, Florida. Wow, Australia. I wonder, is it like in the middle of the night for you guys? Let's see, Florida, Ohio, Alaska, Michigan, Minnesota, Canada, South Texas. Hey, I'm in Texas too. I'm in Dallas. Let's see, Kentucky, Ohio, Utah, Indiana, another Australia, Honolulu. I hope the weather there is lovely. Oh, I see someone's here from Germany. Happy Krampusnacht. Let's see. Oh my gosh, it's so wonderful to see how you guys are from so many different places. I see Italy, A lot of Australians, London, Philippines, Michigan, San Antonio. Oh gosh, so exciting. Let's see. So now that we've made the cocktail, a few fun things I wanted to do. First, I wanted to show you this book. I have a book recommendation for you, which I got a couple years ago. So this is Krampus, the Yule Lord. The author is Brom, but this is fiction. But it's obviously featuring Krampus as one of the main characters. And even though, you know, it's not as historically accurate or anything, it's a really fun story. It is a really fun portrayal of Krampus. In this story, they're kind of taking it the Norse route. In my video I published, I mentioned there's kind of two main theories when it comes to Krampus. Some people believe the tradition developed based on the belief that Krampus was one of the children of Loki or a grandchild of Loki. Another tradition says he's more related to the witches, horned gods. So this book definitely takes it in the direction of kind of being a descendant from Loki, the trickster. So it's a really good book. I'll link it down below in case you're interested on reading something fun this season. And yeah, so I wanted to share that with you guys. And next, I have a fun short quiz that I thought we could do all about Krampus. So let me pull that up. I got my notes here. Okay. So I've probably given away some of the answers to this quiz already, and you probably already know them if you watched my video, but I thought it'd be fun for us all to test our knowledge on Krampus. So we got 6 questions, and type your answer in the comments. Okay, are you ready? So question number 1, what date is Krampusnacht? 4 options. Option 1, the second Saturday in December. Option 2, December 5th. Option 3, December 24th. Or option 4, January 5th. So put your answer, what you think is the correct one, in the comments. The question again is, what date is Krampusnacht? Option 1, second Saturday in December. Option 2, December 5th. Option 3, December 24th. Option 4, January 5th. Let's see. Looks like most of you guys are getting it. I think you guys are all getting it right. Yeah, it's option 2, December 5th, which is tomorrow here in America, but it's already December 5th in Europe. One of the things I mentioned in my video is how I would love there to be more Krampus parades or even Krampusnacht parties here in America. I know there's lots of regions that do have a lot of German and Austrian expats and immigrants. So, but even anywhere, anyone can enjoy Krampus, right? I definitely plan to host one in a non-COVID year. I'll definitely host my own Krampusnacht party. I think that'd be so fun. But it could be like just kind of another fun holiday tradition that we could enjoy. So that's question 1, and you guys scored excellent, A+ so far. Let's see, question number 2. Krampus has an abnormally long tail, tongue, finger, or left leg. So again, Krampus has an abnormally long tail, tongue, finger, or left leg. Which one do you think it is? Gosh, I'm already like halfway through this cocktail. I feel like I could drink a lot of these. They're pretty tasty. Yep, you guys are so smart. You guys are getting them all right. It's definitely tongue. I don't know why he has an oddly long tongue. I couldn't find any like interesting historical basis for that, but I see a few of you guys have some funny answers there. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so let's see. Question 3. Krampus leaves what in naughty children's shoes? Is it nuts, fruit, candy, or a switch? Krampus leaves what in naughty children's shoes? Nuts, fruit, candy, a switch. Let me know what you think the answer to that one might be. And that's something I didn't mention in my videos, so you might get this one wrong. Oh, I see you guys aren't sure on this one, huh? Okay, interesting. Oh, I see Dylan here has an interesting comment about Krampus saying, my theory is that he's a connection to his Jotun or giant heritage. His grandpa is theoretically Loki, and Loki is often associated with a snake. That's interesting. That's a good point. But yeah, so back to the question. Krampus leaves a switch, which is kind of like a stick, in naughty children's shoes. And this is kind of interesting because if you watched my Lupercalia video, gosh, maybe a year and a half ago, I did a video on Lupercalia, which is an ancient Roman pagan holiday that's around the time of Valentine's Day. And they have like a switch or like a branch basically, and they would like hit girls, not in a mean way, but in like a cute, like, haha, I got you way, as a way to kind of generate fertility. And this is a tradition also that I noticed when I lived in Prague in the Czech Republic. On Easter time, they would sell these beautiful branches that had like ribbons on them, and you were supposed to buy them and then like hit the cute girls with them to give them fertility. So this is definitely an interesting pagan custom. I don't think it's meant to be abusive or anything like that. It's more like a fun game, kind of like a flirting game or something like that. But but I thought I would share that with you guys. Okay, so question number 4. Oh, I pretty much already answered this. Oh no, this one should be easy for you guys. Okay, question 4. Krampus's switch is not only a threat of punishment, but also an ancient symbol of rebirth, sacrifice, famine, fertility. Krampus's switch is not only a threat of punishment, but also an ancient symbol of rebirth, sacrifice, famine, or fertility. And you guys got it. I can see you guys now. So yeah, definitely fertility. 2 more questions to go. Question number 5. So Krampus's basket is for holding oats for St. Nicholas's donkey, presents for good children, naughty children, gold coins. Krampus's basket is for holding oats for St. Nicholas's donkey, presents for good children, naughty children, or gold coins. What do you think it is? Let me know in the comments. Yep, you guys got it. Number 3, naughty children. So in the legends of Krampus, the good children get presents from St. Nick, and then Krampus takes the naughty children, puts them in his basket, and like drags them to hell. Or he even eats them in some of the legends. It's pretty dark. So last question in the quiz, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, so please bear with me. Gruß von Krampus, a phrase seen on Krampus cards, translates as Krampus will get you, Happy Krampus night, greetings from Krampus, be good for Krampus. One more time. Gruß von Krampus, a phrase seen on Krampus cards, translates as Krampus will get you, Happy Krampus night, greetings from Krampus, or be good for Krampus. Let's see, which one do you think that translates as? And it's interesting, Krampus cards are a total thing. Like go to Google Images, search Krampus cards, and people used to send them. Very different from like modern Christmas cards that people will send. And I see a few of you guys got it correct, but not all of you. It means greetings from Krampus. So yeah, I see, you know, you guys are doing pretty well. You guys got like pretty much all these questions. So next time I need to make the quiz more difficult for you all because you guys are so smart. But I always find that funny with like Christmas cards that you get this time of year. They're always like showing like a happy family. Usually like people will get like a portrait done of their family, you know, it says happy holidays or whatever. And I was thinking, gosh, if I ever did my own holiday card, I would be like happy Yule and it'd be like a Krampus style themed picture. I'd probably freak out all my family members, but yeah. So thank you guys so much for doing that quiz with me. Let me see here. I'm just checking your comments. And again, I apologize for my horrible pronunciation. Sometimes I feel like such a dumb American because a lot of times I am saying words in my videos that are, you know, Swedish or German or Russian or something like that, and I always butcher them. And I try and like Google how to pronounce things online, but when I'm actually filming it, it seems like my brain completely forgets the correct way to pronounce things. And I wish I was better at that. But I, you know, I try. You can't be perfect, right? Let's see. Oh, Silver Wheel has a really good question. Asking, is Krampus in paganism a kind of deity? So I wouldn't think of Krampus as a deity. I kind of view him as a fascinating aspect of folklore. And folklore can be tied to deities and tied to paganism. So for example, if you take the route that Krampus is kind of tied to the Norse god mythos, maybe like a grandson of Loki or something like that, it's not so much that Krampus is a deity, but when the conversion to Christianity happened in Europe, a lot of the pagan stories and the traditions and the mythos and the gods got kind of twisted around and came out, you know, a bit different on the other end. So when we look at a lot of the traditions we have today, a lot of them have pagan origins, but they're not necessarily a fully accurate representation of what the pagans believed. So that's the task of a modern pagan, is trying to parse out the gems of wisdom from folklore, from the parts of information we do know, from things that were written down, so that we can have a wider understanding of what people believed. So let me see your comments. Let's see. Ooh, Corey has an interesting comment about Krampus, saying, I've always thought of him as the thing that comes to get you in the middle of the night. He's the claw that takes animals and small humans in the dark. Yes. So it makes a lot of sense that Krampus comes from like a more Germanic or Austrian tradition, because as we know, the Grimm's fairy tales, also from Germany and often featuring kind of the dark forest of Germany, like the Black Forest and things like that. A lot of those stories are meant to kind of scare children, scare them into not misbehaving, which back in the day was really life or death. Like, you can't misbehave or else you're probably going to die if you're a child back in the day. Same, I think, in part with stories of Baba Yaga, who I covered a little while ago, where there's a lot to be gained from kind of taking a deep look at those stories. There's a lot there. And stories about Krampus remind us that nature is a wild and scary place, and it deserves to be honored as such, as both those things. It's amazing and it's awe-inspiring and it's wonderful, but it's cruel and it's dark and it's dangerous. And I think that's something our pagan ancestors knew very well. So when it comes to nature deities, I I think a lot of them tried to capture that spirit. That's why when you look at deities like Pan or Cernunnos or something like that, like the kind of horned gods, or even something like Krampus, for example, they're not just positive, free earth, free love, you know, deities. There's a dark side. Or even when you look at the mythos of the witch god or the devil or things like that, there's this darker energy that isn't the whole part. You know, it's not just about worshiping this darkness or anything like that. It's not like that at all. But I feel like pagans work to recognize that life is a two-sided coin. There's beautiful and amazing and profound experiences we have in nature, and then there's also scary stuff. And we work to become comfortable with both sides of that. Yeah, at least that's my thought. Let's see. Graves RWFIA has a great comment here. Pan, or the god Pan, is the Greek word for all, but the rise of the Olympians reduced him to a wood spirit. Yeah, you know, Pan does mean all, right? And Pan is one of my favorite deities. I actually bought these horns not for this Krampus video, but a couple years ago where I wore them to a Halloween masquerade ball. Back when I lived in Chicago, the Opera House there had an amazing Halloween party, like full-on masquerade ball gown situation going on. So of course, you know me, I attended. Like, I love that shit. So I got this gorgeous ball gown, and then I got these horns, and I made my kind of face kind of more like, kind of like goat-like in a way with makeup. I have photos on my Instagram if you want to scroll way back down to like a couple years ago. But I've always been fascinated by Pan. And when I went to Rome a couple years ago, I was really struck by how amazingly beautiful the Pantheon was. Now, people always mix up the Parthenon and the Pantheon, if you're not an art history nerd like me. So the Parthenon, that's in Greece. The Pantheon is in Rome, and it's a circular, large building. It has a hole in the roof, an oculus is what it's called, where the rain can come down. And this is a building built by the ancient Romans during, I believe, the reign of Caesar Augustus. I believe his lieutenant Agrippa built it. And Pantheon, Pan, all, Theon, kind of like gods. So it's a temple dedicated to all the gods, right? And it's in perfect condition. Like, if you are ever in Rome, you have to go to the Pantheon. It's amazing to see like Roman architecture in perfection. It's so lovely. So you go in there and you see these amazing alcoves in this perfectly round building. And in the alcoves would have been a different statue for a different god. And you can just imagine what that would have been like. The light streaming through the oculus in the roof, and then illuminating as the day went on. That light shaft would rotate around like a sundial, illuminating the different gods in the alcoves. And I just get like, I got chills down my spine when I saw the Pantheon for the first time, just imagining this is where I meant to be. I meant to be in like ancient pagan temples. But of course, like, they turned it into a church. And church architecture is completely opposite to pagan architecture, right? The Pantheon is round. You know, we're talking about all gods. Where paganism is focused on the wheel, the cycles, you know. Christianity is more linear, and churches are built in a T formation, right? You kind of have your nave and your transept creates the cross. So if you look at a church from above, or at least a Gothic church, it's going to be in a T shape. So they try and shove this kind of like church inside of the Pantheon. And it just looks awkward and weird. You can tell immediately that it doesn't fit. They have this weird nave they build, some chairs, a little altar there. But that's one thing, I would love to someday see again, just amazing pagan temples. Of course, it's different, depending on the different culture, right? The Romans and the Greeks built amazing pagan temples. Like, obviously, the architecture is stunning, and we still use neoclassical architecture today, right? When America was a new country, how did we establish ourselves? Well, we looked towards the Greeks and we're like, we're going to take that. We're going to take that artistic style and we're going to build the White House and the Capitol building. That's how we establish authority. So classical architecture is just, stunning. And here in America, we obviously used it to establish our own sense of worth and power. So I'd love to see that. But when you look at Norse paganism, when you look at Celtic paganism, it gets a bit different, right? Because, they didn't have huge temples. There might have been some worship that occurred indoors, but not really. Most of it was in groves of trees or outside, especially with the Druids. They worshipped in groves of trees. There's a famous chapel in France, blanking on the name, that's located directly on what would have been the most sacred location of the Gauls, the Gallic Celts. I'm blanking on it, but they just slapped a church right on, took down all those sacred trees and put a church on it. I'll have to look that up later and tell you guys. But yeah, so what do you do as a modern pagan when you look at Norse and Celtic, right? Because they were all about worshiping in nature, which is awesome and amazing. So for them, it's not so much about building structures. It was about being in nature, being one with the nature spirits. So when you're thinking about how do I reconstruct Celtic or Norse pagan traditions, well, obviously we're going to be doing a lot of it in nature. On the one hand, that's a bit easier. We don't necessarily need to build amazing large temples, but at the same time, it's a bit tricky as well, figuring all that out. I see some great comments. Let's see, someone mentioned, why build something when the gods deliver perfection? Love that quote. I think, the world is perfect as it is. Nature is perfect even in its darkness, right? Let's see. So many great comments here. I see Megan is saying Christians get uncomfortable when we aren't talking about them, LOL. Yeah, that's true. Brendan has a good question. What do you think about the Great Conjunction that's happening this month? So I believe, I am not the astrologer. I believe it's Saturn and Jupiter are conjuncting. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that is like a once in a millennia, once in every 2 millennia situation. So it should be interesting to see what happens. I believe it happens at the end of December, so soon, right? Could be interesting. I was much more involved in astrology back when I was doing my podcast, the Cosmic Keys podcast, because my co-host for that was an astrologer, and then I was the tarot reader. But since I stopped co-hosting that podcast, I've been a bit out of the loop when it comes to astrology. But I do try and keep up with the big events, and this conjunction is definitely a big event. Let's see. I see someone mentions, do you know Wisdom of Odin? You should make a video together. Yeah, I speak to Jacob sometimes on Instagram. So yeah, we've chatted on Zoom a few times. So we might do a video together. I really wanted to go to his Yule event, but I couldn't because of like COVID and things like that. But yeah, it is so amazing to see all these Norse creators or Norse pagan YouTubers, things like that. This is such a fascinating movement. I mean, it's growing, it's building. You guys are here. We're drinking together on a Friday. Even though we can't be with each other physically for happy hour, we're here digitally. And it's so wonderful. I really feel like deep down that there's this momentum that's building. Like, it kind of sounds kind of hippie-ish, but I feel like the earth, like Mother Earth needs us, needs us pagans right now. And we're coming back, and it's not just me, it's other people. I've been doing this for a while, but it's only the past couple of years that I've seen it really start to pick up steam. And people are tired of being told what to believe. People are tired of institutions, control, organizations when it comes to religion. So paganism is an opportunity to still engage with things spiritually, to engage with nature. And paganism is great too, because it doesn't really matter what you believe. It's way more about actions, right? That's what I love about paganism. I feel like in other religions, like in Christianity or other religions, it's you have to believe in the Lord or whatever. That's what guarantees in heaven. But I kind of feel like in paganism, it's your actions in life that are way more important than your beliefs. So as a pagan, you can have a literal interpretation of the gods. You can believe in them as, real, tangible, in the same way Christians believe in God and Jesus. Or you can believe in them in archetypal presences of a divine source energy. You can go the whole spectrum and still call yourself pagan, in my opinion. Because it's, in my view, it's about how we act. It's about preserving traditions that honor the land. It's about preserving our beliefs in the old gods, and how much you believe in them is not nearly as important to me as how you act and how you portray yourself, and if you're a good person, and if you're working to build a greater and better world. That's what's important to me, and that's why I think paganism is so different than mainstream organized religions, and that's why I think it will continue to prosper, and this momentum will continue to grow, hopefully. I mean, I feel like the world is better the more pagans there are in it. But of course, I live in Texas, so many other Texans would disagree with me. But checking out your comments here. I see another great question here. The question is, I'm from Mexico, and paganism is kind of difficult because everything is from European paganism, and I don't have direct blood familiar from there. Can I worship the gods even if I'm not European? Yes, definitely. That's another great thing about paganism. All the world was pagan. So I mentioned this in a video a while ago, but if you think about a timeline, right? And this is even fun to draw out. This will freak out people if you draw this out for them. So think about the timeline of human existence. You got your Homo sapiens, hunter-gatherers over here. We got 2020 over here, right? So from the earliest indications of humans, they were creating imagery to suggest that they were believing in some type of nature spirit, most likely animist. Eventually, it developed into more structured religious system, which we now would consider paganism. But they believed in power in the land and the spirits of the land, so they were animist. Basic, kind of pagan in a way. So you have the hunter-gatherers here, right? So over on this side, we got 2020. So Christianity obviously began in year zero. So that's 2,020 years for Christianity. Judaism's a little bit older. Islam's a little bit younger. So we got monotheism over here, right? It's this much. It's not even that much. It's this much. This is paganism, right? This is monotheism, right? So, and it's not like all paganism stopped when monotheism took over, because you have like Hinduism, you have Shinto, continuing on. So when we look at the grand scale of human civilization, our first natural instinct as humans was to believe in the spirits of the earth, and to base our religious ideas and beliefs around the natural world. That was our first instinct, right? Our first instinct was not one God, one way, one truth, I'm right, you're wrong. No, our first instinct was to honor the earth as a deity. So you look at recent research, especially, this is where it gets really bizarre too. So sorry for the history lesson. Let me know if I'm boring you. I just can really nerd out about history sometime. But so what we grew up in school, we learned that civilization really began, or agriculture began, in the between the Tigris and Euphrates, right? Ancient Sumer, Gilgamesh. You may have read it in like high school. And yes, that's probably the first real organized religion. That was about maybe like 3000 BCE. Actually, a little bit older, maybe like 35,000 BCE. You get to 3000 BCE, that's when the Egyptians start. That's where you get the Great Pyramids of Giza. That's where you get Stonehenge, things like that. So that's 3000 BCE. Over like here is Göbekli Tepe, which is in Turkey, southeastern Turkey, and it has a large stone circle, tons of stone, like in weight, right? Like really impossible to build, to move. In a way, kind of similar to Stonehenge, right? And there is animal carvings there. Some people think it's representative of the precession of the equinoxes. Some people just think it's a representation that they were animist. But that's all the way over here in like 18,000 BCE, right? So when people say paganism's dead or paganism was a blip, what are you talking about? 18,000 BCE to zero. And that's if you're not connecting, if you're not thinking that paganism continued, which it did. So 18,000 BCE to zero versus 0 to 2000 AD, right? So paganism has had this huge span. Paganism has been with us since we figured out how to be human, since the Homo sapien became the Homo sapien, right? So paganism is going to continue. Like, people will try and suppress it. People will try and say it's silly or it's stupid, but that's in our core, really. I think it's like in our subconscious. It's something that is natural to our psyche. And that's what we believed in 18,000 BCE. And I don't think it's silly to say that we could still believe in that now. I think paganism has been with us forever, and it will be forever. And if we have any hope as a civilization, as a planet, of continuing on, then hopefully, we embrace it. But another weird thing, a good thing about paganism is we don't proselytize, right? So it's going to be tricky because it's not like we can suddenly go out there, knock on doors, and convince everyone like, hey, save the planet. This will make you happy, be pagan. No, we don't do that. And that's our strength and our weakness, right? It's going to take a lot longer for this movement to take hold because we're not pushy, because we don't go out there and tell people they're wrong, we don't go out there and tell people they're going to go to hell if they don't believe what we believe. We just hope they find their way. And, if they don't, that's fine too, because that's not what we do. And that's, like I said, it's a strength and a weakness. That's what makes paganism wonderful and such a sigh of relief for those that came from organized religions. Let me see, I'm checking your comments here. Let's see, Corey says, it's not a religion, it's a way of life. Animism, a mindset that's a world-accepting and world-respecting view. Exactly. I couldn't agree more. Like I said, it's not a religion. In a way, like there's some religious aspects, but no one's going to tell you what to believe or what is right or what is wrong. It's about respecting the earth and respecting the world and respecting the old gods, respecting traditions, and trying in a way to bring out the wisdom of the ancient world. Because there was a lot of wisdom there, and bring it into the modern day. Let's see, great comment here. I see actually there is 420 million people on Earth that follow indigenous beliefs, i.e. paganism. Exactly. Yeah, to say that paganism is over and that, Hinduism, Shinto, Native American beliefs, they're here, they're thriving, So yeah, I think that's what's great. It's a weird community because there are no rules and there isn't much structure or hierarchy. But at the same time, it's up to you, I think, to figure out if this path, if this lifestyle, if these ideas fit with you, if they jive with you, if they connect with you. And if they do, then welcome. You're not going to hear much hate from me. I really think paganism is a welcoming place, because ever since the beginning, pagans just add on other gods. We never say you're right or you're wrong. We never say you're evil, you're going to hell. I think a lot about the ancient city of Alexandria, Egypt, which was kind of the multicultural center of the ancient world. It was where people built great schools of philosophy and kind of colleges of learning. It's where the sciences flourished. It's a place that was founded by Alexander the Great. And then you had this interesting complex society of Greeks and then of Romans once the Romans took over, but then you have the local Egyptians. And then eventually, you do have the Jews and the Christians. And for a while, it was this fascinating place in the ancient world. Everyone wanted to go to Alexandria. It was a center of all cutting-edge thought and ideas. And how it could succeed is because at the time, when it was doing well, paganism was the predominant religion, and it accepted every belief. There were no religious wars until it was, eventually destroyed. But you can find artifacts there where people are talking about the different gods. They even we'll throw Jesus in there. I want to ask for blessings from Osiris and Zeus and Jesus, and they just put it all in one. It was this weird moment in history, this weird moment in time where all the religions could come together. And it wasn't about one is right or one is wrong. It was about furthering humanity, furthering our understanding of the world. And I hope a place like that will exist again someday, but we'll see. I see someone mentions here, since the library burned in the days of Julius Caesar, it was pagan before Jesus ever looked around. Yeah, I recently, a year ago, learned that the Library of Alexandria accidentally burned down when Julius Caesar came there. It was an accident. And, but yeah, they were trying to take control. Of course, Alexandria is where Cleopatra was too, who is a Mycenaean Greek. Her father was one of the Ptolemies, who was a general of Alexander the Great. But they preserved a lot of the scrolls, a lot of the books from the Library of Alexandria. They saved some, right? And then they put them in the Temple of Serapis. Serapis, by the way, fascinating deity. Like, stop this, Google Serapis and Alexandria, Egypt. But so the remaining scrolls go into a library in Serapis, in the Temple of Serapis, which is not just a storehouse for these remaining scrolls of the Library of Alexandria. It's also a college. It's where people learned. It's where people discovered astronomy. And it thrived for quite a while. And if you ever get a chance, there's a movie I highly, highly recommend called Agora, Agora. And Agora is kind of a lesser known movie. It features Rachel Weisz, who is the actress in like The Mummy and other things. Like, she's lovely. I love her. But she plays one of my all-time favorite heroes. She plays Hypatia. And I love Hypatia. I've been looking for an artist that can create like a bust statue of Hypatia, you know, like the head and shoulders, a bust statue of Hypatia, so I can put it in my study, because that's how much I love her. But so if you're an artist and a sculptor, or you know a good sculptor, let me know, because I will pay them money for this. But anyway, so Hypatia, a fascinating figure. So she was part of the aristocracy in Alexandria, Egypt. And at the time, Alexandria was still predominantly run by the pagans. And like I said, paganism isn't necessarily about what you believe in. It's more like a cultural lifestyle. It's a community. So she was probably more of a humanist than a religious pagan, but she was part of the pagan community. And she became a professor of mathematics and a professor of astronomy. So she's a female professor, one of the top professors in the city. Can you, it's just like amazing to me. Like, we went so far back in time and society in the Dark Ages. But when you think back to a city like Alexandria, you think of Hypatia. So she's a genius. She's educating the future leaders of the city and the community. And this is when things start to get complicated religiously. So you have certain factions in the city of Alexandria. You have the pagans, who are currently the aristocracy. So obviously there's a lot of resentment towards them because they're the wealthier individuals in the city of Alexandria. Then you have the Jews, who have been there for a while. And then you have the Christians. And the Christian community were new, because Christianity is newer than Judaism and paganism. And what Christianity mastered was talking to the disenfranchised, the poor in the city. And they riled them up and created kind of this, I don't want to say like gang. That's not a good word for it, but a really passionate community of people who are desperate. And it kind of reminds me, I don't know, did you guys watch Game of Thrones? But in the season where you have like the Sparrow, that figure who kind of riles up, these young men, and they start wearing black and then they start destroying things. So obviously I don't want to bash Christianity too much, but early Christian history is fascinating. And I highly recommend you look into it if you're considering being a pagan. So you have this Christian gang, I guess. And at first, they're not necessarily interested in fighting the people in charge, the pagans. they start creating conflict with the Jews in the city of Alexandria, right? So they're stoning each other, they're murdering, and the pagans are like, I'm in the middle here. I'm trying to administrate the city and create peace and stability and, maintain my universities, maintain the city as an excellent place to, for philosophers to come and teach and things like that. So they're trying to kind of arbitrate the feud between the Christians and the Jews. But this is around the time when the Roman Empire becomes Christian, right? So Constantine converts to Christianity and the Roman Empire. So that's all the way in Rome. But eventually, word goes out that the Roman Empire is no longer pagan. It's now Christian. So the philosophers and the teachers start to get a little bit worried. And of course, all the aristocracy in the city of Alexandria, what's going to happen? And this mob violence becomes so intense that eventually the Christians surround the Temple of Serapis, banging on the door, let us in, let us in. But the Roman soldiers, they stop them for the moment, and they send word all the way to Rome. What should we do? What should we do? Should we let the Christians in? I know the empire is not Christian, or should we hold them off? What should we do? Eventually, the word comes back from Rome, and the decree is to open the doors, let the Christians in, to destroy the Temple of Serapis. So they open the doors, and the philosophers and the teachers, the students that are there, try and grab as many scrolls as they can and try and run away. And the Christian mob streams in and burns the remaining scrolls, the scrolls that survived in the Library of Alexandria. They were burned. The temple was destroyed. The great school of learning, the great city known for learning, was no more. And that's what the fall of Alexandria was. Once the quintessential city of multiculturalism, of learning, of education is gone. Now, Hypatia escapes, but 30 years later or so, she's obviously no longer has much power in the city, but she's still powerful. She's still, thought of as one of the most intelligent scholars, mathematicians. And at some point they had enough. I think Cyril, he's sainted now. Saint Cyril, is that right? Cyril? I'll have to look that up later. I think he's in charge at this time. So he was eventually sainted for this, by the way. So they decide to call Hypatia a witch, and they capture her, and they take shards of pottery and flay her alive. And that's what happened to one of the most educated females of the ancient world. And that's how her life ended. Dark story. I did not mean to get this dark. Sorry, guys. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Whew, I must be feeling that Krampus rum or something from this cocktail. That was dark. But it might be on Amazon Prime. Definitely check tonight. Watch Agora. It's just fascinating. I've always been fascinated by the time period where paganism, is the predominant religion, and then you have Christianity. What happens there? It gets really fascinating too. If you are into Norse paganism, for example, how did the Vikings get converted? How did the Norse pagans get converted? What tradition survived? What didn't? You think about even the Celts. Bridget was originally a Celtic fire goddess, and now she's Saint Bridget. Sometimes it's a direct, just taking the goddess, turning into a saint. Sometimes it's more gradual. It's more change. It's more morphed and evolved over time, like Krampus, for example, right? We were talking about that earlier. Like, what is Krampus? He's not really like a deity, he's folklore, but a lot of folklore is what survived the conversion. So it's been warped, it's been changed, but it's still valuable. We talk about fairies, right? And I mentioned this in my video I did about kind of like that Norse paganism versus Celtic paganism, which path is for you. There's this great theory that like the fairies or the fae stories, the folklore of the fae, that is a remnant of the belief in a race of gods and goddesses that existed in Irish culture. And those deities eventually kind of went down in status till they eventually became the fae. They're no longer gods, but maybe they were. We'll never really know because the Celts didn't write that much down. But it's an interesting theory, right? So fairy lore, you know, is it a remnant of ancient Celtic belief in certain deities? Is it its own thing? We'll never know, really. But yeah. So, cocktail is done. Thought I'd give you guys a couple updates real quick before I sign off, but thanks for coming to my history lesson. I did not plan on talking about Alexandria, Egypt, but once I get a bee in my bonnet, I just kind of go off. And thanks for listening, and those of you that stayed tuned for that. I hope I didn't get certain things incorrect. Please do correct me if I do. I'm always up for learning, so I know I'm not right all the time. But a few updates before we sign off. So let's see, first update. If you enjoy my channel, if you enjoy these pagan live chats, one of the best things you can do is if you want to support me, I have my Patreon link down below. I would love to do more of these. Right now, YouTube is not my full-time job. I no longer work in the corporate world or anything like that. I left, and I mostly make my income through tarot readings and lessons. But I would eventually like to shift more towards more pagan content. So taking time away from doing my tarot readings and lessons and things like that and spend more time creating content for you guys, because I really feel like paganism and pagan content, it needs to be out there for free on the internet, and YouTube is one of the best ways to do that. So if you did like this live chat, if you do like my channel, I would love for you to consider supporting me on Patreon. If you can't, no worries too. Let's see, another update. I am almost done with the tarot deck that I've been working on for 2 years. I've been working on this deck with my friend Jamie. It's called the Key Tarot. And if you are interested, you can check it out on the website. It's thekeytarot.com, or you can find us on Instagram at thekeytarot. The cards are being printed right now. So they're going to be airshipped to us, and then we're going to ship them out to the people that pre-ordered. So if you are interested in pre-ordering or just ordering, because the decks are going to be here soon, you can do that on thekeytarot.com. And yeah, I think all of that was my main updates. Thank you guys so much for joining me for Krampusnacht and sticking with me through that weird tangent history lesson. I really enjoy these. I really enjoy talking to you all. Next week, stay tuned. I might be doing a video on the Swedish Yule goat, which is a really fascinating Yule tradition as well. So I'll probably be posting that next week. I might even do a Yule gift guide next week too. So stay tuned. I want to wish you all the best. Happy Krampusnacht, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.